What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Big Cat Creative. This is episode 2 of our series on our house to shed conversion. Today we are going to be working on a little rough-in electrical, and so let's get into it. So let's look at what I've purchased so far. So first thing I bought is this is Square D's Homeline series. This is a 100 amp. It's got 6 bases for 12 circuits, and we went this route largely because a lot of the 70 amp and 60 amp sub panels only have 2 spaces in them, and with the mini split option, a lot of those mini splits run off 230/240. So if we went with that option, there wouldn't be a space really in the panel to put anything else. So we went ahead and got this 100 amp. It's a 100 amp circuit box. It's really inexpensive, and I will link everything as far as all these items go in the panel, or for the panel and other parts. I'll link these into, I'll put these in the description. But so we went with this service panel box. Now, for the wiring inside the main part of the building, we went with 12-2 with the ground, which you might be thinking, okay, that is overkill, and possibly. But we kind of always grew up with the idea of it's better to have possibilities than be shooed into one option. So as expensive as Romex is right now, the difference in 12-2 and 14-2 is not that much. It's maybe $10 to $15 for 15 feet. It's pretty insignificant, especially because we have such a small project here. So the cool part about 12-2 is it lets us run a 20 amp breaker and 20 amp outlets. That's pretty important for us because we're not, once again, 100% sure about what option we are going to use to heat and to cool the building. If we were to wait on the mini split and use wall heaters and window air conditioning units, that can get really tricky because most of those wall heaters are 1500 watt wall heaters, meaning 1500 watts divided by 120 volts. We're going to be running somewhere 13 to 14. Usually it's about 13.8, 13.6, 13 amps, which you have a 15 amp outlet, sounds fine. You have a 15 amp breaker, that's fine. But really for continuous usage, those should not be run over 80% of their load capacity as far as I understand. So when we have issues is if we've got that running for 8 to 10 hours a day while, you know, my wife is working in the building or we're doing something in the building, if I run a 15 amp circuit on 14 gauge wire, I am surpassing what it should be used at. Plus, everything she does is on a computer, so we're going to have that additional load. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go with the 14 gauge wiring for the receptacles. Now, for the lighting, we did go with 14.3. Just 50 feet of 14.3 with the ground, because we're going to use LED lighting, and the miracle of modern LEDs is they use practically no electricity. We're just going to put a couple small ceiling fans in there to help move air around, but 14.3 on those is really pretty standard. It's going to be more than enough, and those should be just fine. Standards. Wall switch, decorator switches for these are pretty small difference, and these are what are actually visual. You see these, you don't really see the receptacles in the walls as much, but this is a single pole 15 amp switch. We got a couple of those, and then this, remember, this is not an agricultural product. This is just an exterior building, and my county where we live has some very relaxed building codes. We just added like permits for buildings and added permits for county codes other than electrical, water and septic, January of this year. So for my building, I do not have to add any extra permits for anything for this. Since it's an outbuilding, there's no permit required, but I am going to try to spec everything out the code for this one. So standard, I think these are 18 cubic inch boxes. And a couple other little things kind of forgot to mention is that when you buy the breaker box, they do not come with a grounding bar. So we had to buy a grounding terminal kit. Those are like $7 or $8. And then just your standard single pole 15 and 20 amp circuit breakers, which I did not buy the double pole yet because I'm not 100% sure what I need. So once I talk to the HVAC guy, we'll figure that one out. But well, let's go inside and get busy. So we are going to go ahead and mount the panel box. The panel box is going to go over there, and I've got my trusty 4-foot level. So I'll know exactly how far 4 feet is off the surface to mount the bottom of the box. And we'll also make sure we stay good and level. So, well, let's get going. All right, so something that you do have to kind of pay attention to with this is that you don't want a really, really long screw for this so that it like sticks out the back. So I've got a couple screws, 3/4 inches, that should be perfect for going all the way through, but not so far that it's sticking out the siding. So let's go ahead and tack this up with one, and then we'll level it. It is important to note, these do have a top and bottom designation. So this is the top. All right, so I am very much a learner in this process, and I've already figured out my first hiccup. We have an issue, and I put this against this stud on the wall. I did not realize that when I try to hang the cover on, it can't get to this because the outside edge of the box will hit it. So probably should have read the instruction manual, but this kind of gives me an idea. And there's going to be a lot of learning going on, so no big deal. Take 4 screws out, move it over 1/2 inch or whatever the manual says, and try it again. All right, so our panel is mounted to the wall, nice and level, and it's time to start drilling some holes. So it's time to drill some holes. Using this Stinger 3/4 inch paddle bit. The only thing a little different about this one, it's 2 fluted, but it has like the screw tip, so it's supposedly easier to go in the wall. We'll see. Bam. Down that plate. Over that one. To the lights. So I'm gonna need the top there. I'm gonna need top there, top there. Down, over. Feet up, feet over. Other legs will come out of the box. Up. This way. Down there, over through, down, over, into this one, terminate there. All right, those are drilled. So, holes there. So the one on the right, we'll go with this one. The one on the left will feed over here. So that limits the number of holes I have to drill up top. So it kind of simplifies that. We've got a hole here to feed down into the box. 2 holes here, one to come over and then down for the first leg. And then this one up here, navigating that might be a bit of a chore. So may end up actually just coming straight over, down and through. Goal is to drill into these up top as little as possible. So I'm gonna do a couple equipment switch outs and we'll keep going. All right, so I do not have a right angle drill. I know a guy that does. My dad's got a couple, but I don't have them with me right now. So I'm going to attempt to use just my impact. See if it's small enough to get between part of these smaller runs. If it is, great. If not, it may take me a few attempts to figure out how to make this work otherwise. But let's try this and see how it goes. All right, so modern solutions, modern problems. I just angled my drill like this, and once I got it started, I could rotate it and flatten it out. So that worked fairly decently on that corner. I'm gonna try it over here and see if lightning can strike twice. All right, so that worked both times, thankfully. Coming at an angle, it's gonna come up, but that's okay. It's through, and yeah, I got 2 holes in this, but you gotta remember, so these have all those extra corner studs for the wall board mounting, so those are really extra supported, so I'm not really too worried about that. So this is my 12-2 with the ground. I've got 50 feet of it, which I hope is enough. It should be really close. Now, I'm not gonna run it through the knockouts or anything yet. I'm just gonna make sure I leave enough. And so let's get rolling. can always run more wiring. Go buy some. It's got about 8 or 10 feet left here. It's just plenty to finish a couple of circuits on these smaller ones anyways. So maybe, no, not quite, but it'll be enough to run a couple of these. So I'll run back to the hardware store, get a 25-foot section or something of it, and it'll be just fine. Oh no, darn. That is incredibly close. I'm like a couple inches short. That's all right. All right, well, that worked out just exactly perfect in the end. So if you're an electrician and you know I'm doing something wrong, please let me know down in the comments. I'm learning most of this by reading the manuals and talking to people I know and consulting stuff online. So a lot of mistakes can be made very quickly by me. So if you have any comments, please let me know, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and tune in for the next one. The plan is to drop one of these once a week, and so you kind of get to walk through with me as we go. Have a good day. God bless.